Someone asks a simple question, what do you actually want to do tonight? And your mind goes strangely, embarrassingly blank, like reaching for something that used to be there. You know exactly what they'd enjoy. You know what would make the group happiest. You know what's easiest for everyone else in the room, without even trying to figure it out. But your own preference, the actual answer to the actual question, seems to have quietly wandered off somewhere without telling you when it left, or where exactly it went. This isn't indecisiveness in the ordinary sense. It's something considerably more specific. Years spent prioritizing everyone else's wants finally caught up with your ability to locate your own. And if that blank feeling is familiar, this video will explain exactly how a person can lose touch with their own preferences, one small accommodation at a time. A group chat asks where everyone wants to eat tonight. 5 people list restaurants immediately. You wait, scroll, then type. Anywhere's fine, honestly. Whatever works for everyone else. It's not laziness when you actually try to locate an opinion, there's just quiet. A faint, blank space where a clear preference should obviously already exist by now. At the restaurant, the waiter turns to you last. Everyone else answered instantly. You scan the menu again, genuinely unsure, and land on whatever seems least likely to inconvenience anyone. Later, a friend asks what music you actually like. Not what's popular, not what plays well at parties. You pause longer than feels normal, searching for something real to say. You realize you can list, in perfect detail, what your partner loves, what your mother prefers, what your closest friend can't stand. Your own list stays strangely, persistently thin. This has been happening for years, quietly, choosing the version of yourself that creates the least friction again and again until the real preference eventually stops showing up at all. This isn't about being easygoing. It's about a specific kind of erosion, and understanding it starts with understanding what accommodation does to a person, repeated often enough. There's a term worth knowing here. Preference atrophy, the gradual weakening of a person's access to their own wants after years of consistently prioritizing everyone else's instead. Like a muscle rarely used, the part of you responsible for noticing personal preference can genuinely weaken over time, simply from lack of regular, meaningful practice actually using it. This usually begins with small, reasonable accommodations, letting someone else pick the restaurant once, deferring on a minor decision, none of it alarming, taken individually in any single moment, but repeated constantly across years. Accommodation becomes the default setting. Your mind stops even generating a preference because generating one was never actually going to matter anyway. Eventually, the question itself starts to feel foreign. What do you want becomes almost a trick question, one your mind has genuinely stopped knowing how to properly answer. This isn't a character flaw or a personality trait. It's a skill that quietly went unused for so long that your access to it noticeably dulled, almost like rust forming. And the tricky part is that from the outside, this looks like being agreeable, flexible, and easy to get along with, when internally something quieter has actually gone missing. Consider what actually happens inside a person who spends years consistently accommodating everyone nearby. Attention gets trained outward, scanning others' needs, almost never turning back toward their own. If you grew up needing to anticipate someone else's mood, needs, or reactions, your internal radar developed early, sharp, and pointed almost entirely away from your own experience. Every time you noticed what you wanted and quietly set it aside for someone else's comfort, you reinforced a specific lesson. My preference is optional, theirs is not. Over enough repetitions, this becomes automatic. You don't consciously suppress your wants anymore. You simply stop generating them because generating them never led anywhere useful before. This is sometimes described as self-abandonment through accommodation, a survival strategy that trades authentic preference for predictable safety, harmony, or approval from the people around you. The nervous system doesn't experience this as a loss in the moment. It experiences it as smooth, efficient, conflict-free. The cost only becomes visible much later, quietly, cumulatively. And here's something worth holding on to because we'll circle back to it directly. People who lose touch with their own wants are often remarkably fluent in everyone else's. As an adult, this shows up as genuine confusion during simple choices, decision fatigue around anything personal, and a strange relief whenever someone else simply makes the choice instead. You'll notice this in the person who orders the same meal a companion just ordered, not from genuine desire, but because deciding independently suddenly felt oddly effortful and unclear. There's a version of this in the one who can recommend flawless gifts for practically anyone, while drawing a complete blank on what they'd actually want for their own birthday. It shows up in the partner who answers nearly everything with sure, whatever you'd prefer, genuinely unaware this has quietly become their automatic response to almost every question asked. Watch for it in the person who feels quiet panic, browsing a menu alone without anyone else's cues to follow, suddenly required to produce an opinion from seemingly nowhere. It surfaces in the one who took up a hobby years ago purely to please someone else, and never noticed exactly when it stopped being about pleasing anyone at all. You'll catch it in the friend who agrees enthusiastically with whatever plan gets suggested first, unsure whether they'd have chosen it themselves. Given a genuine, unprompted opportunity, it appears in the person redecorating an entire home around a partner's taste, only realizing years later they never once asked what they personally would have actually chosen. And it's there in the quiet unease of achieving something everyone congratulates you for, while privately wondering whether you ever wanted it or simply followed the expected path instead. Earlier, I mentioned something worth genuinely revisiting now. People who lose touch with their own preferences are often remarkably fluent in reading everyone else's. That fluency isn't accidental. Noticing subtle shifts in mood, unspoken needs, small preferences others never explicitly state, that requires real attentiveness, genuinely developed skill, not simple passivity or a lack of opinions. You became an expert at other people specifically because your own preferences stopped competing for your attention. All that available bandwidth went somewhere. It went toward everyone else. That's not weakness, that's redirected capacity, built through repetition in an environment where your own wants rarely, if ever, seem to matter as much as everyone else's did. Here's the genuinely useful reframe. Your preferences didn't disappear permanently. They went quiet, buried under years of prioritizing everyone else's comfort ahead of your own. Consistently, repeatedly, quiet isn't the same thing as gone. Underused isn't the same thing as absent. The access simply needs deliberate, patient rebuilding, the same way any underused skill eventually does. Rebuilding this access starts small, almost deceptively small, practicing naming one genuine preference daily, even somewhere low stakes, like choosing your own coffee order without checking anyone else's first. It means pausing before automatically deferring and asking yourself directly, if nobody else's opinion existed right now, what would I actually honestly choose in this exact moment? It means tolerating the discomfort of occasionally disappointing someone, understanding that disappointing others sometimes is the actual price of finally reconnecting with your own genuine preferences again. It means treating your own wants as information worth gathering, not inconveniences to minimize. The same careful attention you've spent years giving so generously to everyone else. Because your preferences were never actually gone. They were simply waiting patiently for enough safety and enough practice to finally quietly come back into your own hands.